Welcome back to ACB Wrestling Talk, your main source for wrestling news and wrestling discussions. I'm, of course, your host, Alexis Carrillo, and listening to some wrestling talk. 2019 is coming to a close, and that means that in this video, we're going to take a look at All Elite Wrestling's first full year in business. Well, almost full year in business, because technically it's still December 26, 2019, but, essentially it's the full year, and we've got the Dynamite anniversary show coming up on January 1st. But for that, we also have to go all the way back to January 1st, 2019. After months and months and months of rumors and wrestling news websites pretty much confirming that Being the Elite, that entire team behind the YouTube channel, was about to start a wrestling company backed by Tony Khan. Many people believed him, many people did not. Especially since there were a lot of trademarks going on. In the months prior to it, they had the very successful, highly touted All In event that was just sold out. Over 11,000 people in Chicago, Illinois attended an event that wasn't promoted, that wasn't produced by WWE. Then on January 1st at midnight Pacific Standard Time on Being the Elite, AEW's creation, AEW's founding was announced. It was made official, and the wrestling world went crazy. They went bananas, because now, in their eyes, we had a clear alternative. We had a clear number two coming up the ranks to face off against the monopoly, to face off against the Goliath that is and still is, that was and still is currently WWE. Then we move on to January 2nd, when we got the first announcement that Cody and the Young Bucks were going to be the very first AEW superstars, and that they were also going to be co-executive vice presidents, along with owner and CEO of the company, Tony Khan. So AEW started off with a bang. Fans were as excited as possible as they could be. And I believe not long after that, no, if I remember correctly, January 1st, during the announcement of AEW, they also announced that on May 25th, 2019, yours truly's birthday, they were going to have Double or Nothing, their first official event under the AEW banner. Essentially, it was the sequel. It was a follow-up to All In, but All In was an independent show produced by the men and women who would later found AEW, but it was not an AEW event. So Double or Nothing takes place May 25th in Las Vegas, Nevada. We got that fantastic match between Cody and his brother Dustin Rhodes, which I initially had my doubts about, because again, they announced the founding of the company in January 1st, 2019. Their first event was May 25th, 2019. That's almost 6 months of build-up when you didn't have a weekly program, when you did not have the benefit of having millions of viewers tune in to watch a build-up to this match. But Cody and Dustin Rhodes and everyone on the card proved us all wrong. Well, it's mostly me. I'm talking about my expectations for this match. They might have been the match of the night at that event. We also got the rematch. Chris Jericho versus Kenny Omega, and Y2J beat Kenny Omega in a shocker for me, because AEW, to me, was all about Being the Elite guys and putting them over. Chris Jericho was essentially going to come over and just be the big name that attracts the new viewers to AEW, and then those new viewers discover the Young Bucks. They discover Kenny Omega. They discover Hangman Adam Page. That was my initial thought. But Chris Jericho beat Kenny Omega, and he went on to become the first ever AEW World Champion. And now, looking back at it right now, it all made sense. And also at Double or Nothing, we got the debut after months and months of speculation, after being released by WWE under very bad terms, under a very, wasted relationship between Jonathan Good and WWE. Jon Moxley finally debuted at an AEW event, and he attacked not only Y2J Chris Jericho, he attacked Kenny Omega as well, making a real damn statement about what were his true intentions, and that is the fact that he wants to be the guy. And if the initial excitement that AEW had started to have when they announced their founding back in January 1st had died down, Double or Nothing brought that excitement back. Double or Nothing made us care about AEW once again, because now it wasn't just something that was eventually going to happen, eventually could happen, they had made it official, but nothing had ever happened. Now it was tangible. Now you can talk about AEW's first event. Now you can talk about a company that had already officially been in business. And that, my friends, was awesome. Not only that, but also in May, I believe, like a week before Double or Nothing, AEW announced that they had reached a deal with Time Warner Media to have a weekly 2-hour primetime slot on TNT for a show yet to be named at that time. Which, like I said, if you wanted excitement for the brand, if you wanted excitement for this brand new alternative that is AEW, look no further than returning back to the Monday Night Wars. Essentially, that's what fans were looking towards and for when AEW announced their deal with TNT. After all of that, they essentially pretty much their next big event was All Out on August 31st, 2019 in Chicago, Illinois. They did have 2 events prior to it, but to me, because All In was the unofficial start to AEW, right now All Out is the biggest pay-per-view event of the year in AEW. At least that's how I look at it. That's how they should market that pay-per-view, but we'll just have to wait and see. They had Fyter Fest on June 29th, 2019 in Daytona Beach, Florida. That city, pretty well known in the wrestling industry because it was the city where the New World Order, the NWO, was born, where Hulk Hogan was revealed as the third man, and that city, that Daytona Beach, Florida, became synonymous with WCW. TNA tried to take advantage of it back in 2010 at Bound for Glory, and now AEW was taking their shot at Daytona Beach. Cody fought Darby Allin to a time-limit draw, and Jon Moxley defeated Joey Janela in an unsanctioned match. Again, a smaller event compared to Double or Nothing, before it, or All Out, which was still a few months away. And then we move on to Fight for the Fallen, yet another small event just to keep the wheels rolling for AEW. Fight for the Fallen, July 13th, 2019 in Jacksonville, Florida, where the Young Bucks defeated the Brotherhood, and at least for me, the highlight match of the night. Other than that, you could have pretty much looked at it as yet another episode of Dynamite in terms of Fight for the Fallen. But now we get to August 31st, 2019, which is pretty much, give or take a few days, exactly 1 year after All In. In the very same city, AEW crowned their first World Heavyweight Champion. And that man was current Le Champion, Chris Jericho, and he defeated Adam Hangman Page in a main event in a match that shocked me. Because again, up until that day, up until August 31st, 2019, my thought was AEW is going to put over guys like the Bucks, like Omega, like Cody, like Hangman Page, like MJF, like Shawn Spears, all these young guys that did not get their shot elsewhere. They're going to be the top guys in AEW, and All Out is the first step to doing that by having Hangman Page become the first world champion. That didn't happen. And right now, I give them, the green light. It was the right move, the right call for that event, because Chris Jericho is the most entertaining part of Dynamite week in and week out. Moving on to October 2nd, 2019, once again in Chicago, Illinois, but it wasn't for a pay-per-view, no. It was for the debut of AEW Dynamite on TNT, and the very first match in the history of AEW's trademark brand and show would be Cody defeating Sammy Guevara. And this was essentially a match and a sign of things to come, because Cody would go on to later challenge for the world title against Chris Jericho, who now had Sammy Guevara in his Inner Circle faction. So again, a little bit of long-term storyline planning for AEW. So give them their props right there. Not only that, but also on Dynamite, championship history was made, because Rio defeated Nyla Rose to become the first ever AEW World Women's Champion in history. You all know my feelings. I'm not that big of a fan of the current state of the AEW Women's Division. There's very few to be excited about in that division. And when I released the top 5 things AEW should look forward to in 2020, or should improve in 2020, you'll see why. But as of right now, Rio became first ever World Women's Champion in AEW. That's enough to make history. And then we have the fantastic main event, Jericho, Santana, and Ortiz versus Omega and the Young Bucks. Jericho and Santana and Ortiz, they won that match. Again, another foreshadowing of the Inner Circle. But Jon Moxley made his return. He was scheduled to have a match at All Out. He got injured, unfortunately, due to unfortunate circumstances. Now he made his return, and I believe he attacked Kenny Omega. And then you had Jake Hager make his debut, pretty much establishing that AEW was here to make headlines, and on the very first night on TNT, that's exactly what they did. Then we move on to Full Gear, November 9th, 2019, tail end of the year, Baltimore, Maryland, where Cody failed in his attempt to become AEW World Champion, because he lost to Chris Jericho, quote-unquote lost to Chris Jericho, because MJF still aligned with Cody, back then, threw in the towel, causing Cody to lose. And then MJF turned his back on Cody on that very same night, in that very same moment, again, making headlines. And MJF is still reaping the benefits. He recently won the Diamond Doesn't Ring, I believe that's what's the name of that ring. And if you ask me, MJF could be the fastest rising star in AEW for 2020. And we also had that crazy, violent, in my opinion, unnecessary, unsanctioned, lights out match where Jon Moxley not only defeated, but beat the living shit out of Kenny Omega in that match. I believe that was the main event of Full Gear. It caused headlines. It pretty much divided the IWC, the Internet Wrestling community, because whereas most of the fans, not most, about a little bit over half of the fans that watched the match, they were pretty damn happy. They're sick of WWE's PG content, so they loved the violence and the hardcore and the extremes that Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega went to. Others, such as myself, felt and still feel that it is unnecessary to go to those kinds of lengths, put your body, your career, your livelihood on the line for one simple match. Again, agree to disagree. We all have the right to our opinions, but nonetheless, once again, AEW made headlines. And now, because of AEW, wrestling news websites are now able to post news stories rumors, videos, any type of content they can about a company that's not WWE, about a product that's not Raw, SmackDown, or NXT. Now we've got that and much, much more as wrestling fans to benefit from because of AEW in 2019. So how do I grade All Elite Wrestling's 2019, their very first year in business? I say it's a very damn good, great, fantastic, fabulous, whatever adjective you want to place on the year before the word year, that's exactly what it is. Because they've given us exciting moments, again, headlines throughout the entire year. It's allowed us as wrestling fans to once again get back into professional wrestling for the most part, because a lot of fans have, fallen out of love with WWE, and maybe AEW being the alternative can bring them back. At the end of the day, wrestling needs to continue to grow, and they need to continue to get fans. Now, with that said, with the great year that AEW had in 2019, looking forward to 2020, I have to say this, and I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I have to say this. AEW's 2020, the year 2020 for AEW is going to be possibly one of the hardest in its history. Because, like Chris Jericho has stated in multiple interviews over the past few weeks, AEW's honeymoon period with the fans, with the media, with everyone, it's over. It's over. This whole idea that AEW is the new up-and-comer, it's the rookie, it's the new guy, it's the next big thing, the cool guys, that's starting to wane down. So now AEW, now this is where we really see if AEW can survive for the long run. I get the fact that they're backed by Tony Khan and the millions and millions and millions of dollars, billions practically of dollars that they're going to pump into AEW. I get that. But if attendance starts going down, if interest starts going down, that's a pretty big blemish on the record of AEW. And hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully AEW can maintain what they've got going right now. Hopefully they can grow into the alternative that they plan to be and grow their own fan base, their own culture, their own tradition, and separate themselves truly from WWE. That's what I think AEW should do for 2020. That's what I think AEW will encounter in 2020. But like I always say, that's just my opinion. That's just nobody's opinion. What's your thoughts? What do you think? What did you think of AEW's 2019? What do you think their 2020 is going to look like? Leave your thoughts, comments, and predictions in the comments section below. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you dislike this video, hit the dislike button. That's it for me. Till next time.